Good evening. Welcome to the final episode of the Not Another Cheltenham podcast. I'm joined once again by Joe. We've got a few races to go. We're recording this on Friday evening, so we've got a few 5-day decks ahead of us. We've got a bit to look at. And by my count, we've got 8 races to finish off in this podcast, and then we'll take you through the charity Lucky 15, which our guest helped us out with earlier. Joe, had any bets this week, or are you keeping your powder dry till Cheltenham?
No, exactly that. Keeping me powder dry to next week. Adam, on a good note. I've finished work though until following Monday, so festival mode is fully switched on.
Well, Joe's in festival mode. I'm already on the beer because Goshen got his head in front today. Go on, son.
I
That's
knew you'd have to mention that.
9-2, supplementing for the Arkle, Gary. It's not too late, son. So, with that in mind, we're going to make a start with the first handicap of the festival, which is the 250 on Tuesday. It's the Ultimate. Joe, really difficult race. Last year's was absolutely superb in terms of the strength of the form. What do you fancy this time around?
Yeah, I did look at James DeBerlo. He hasn't been declared, so that switches him out straight away, which makes my job easier. I don't know what you think. GM Vinco, I was thinking he doesn't truly stay, does he?
I'm not sure. I'm yet to be convinced he stays. That race against Stay Away Faye raised more question marks than answers for me. So I wouldn't be certain.
Yeah. I mean, normally, obviously, the British dominate this race, but I would say this is the strongest Irish hand I've seen in a few years. Meeting of the Waters has been purchased by JP. What did David Williams call him a future Gold Cup horse, which is a bit far fetched, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that he's 4-1 now. I wouldn't touch him at fours.
No.
Maybe if he is a future Gold Cup course, fair enough. He's going to win this, and I'll applaud
Yeah,
everybody who got involved. But I took the view Willie Mullins doesn't generally win. Well, he never wins Cheltenham handicap chases, but if he had a Grade 1 Gold Cup horse, don't think he'd be throwing it into the Ultimate myself. And I wonder if there was a little bit of David Mullins playing up to this horse with the idea that the horse might be sold, and suddenly JP's checkbook's out. Hopefully JP hasn't been done over, but we'll see. But I would agree, really, I'd be doubtful. If he is a Gold Cup horse, then fair enough, but I'd be doubtful.
yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of selections here. I am sticking with the British. The first one you're gonna laugh at, and I know you're gonna laugh at. Top weight, Eldorado Allen. Um, 10-year-old now, but it's age doesn't really matter in this type of race. Fourth in the Coral Gold Cup. That form is worthy enough to warrant consideration for a race like this, although being a long way. It's got a sliding handicap mark. His last win was the 12th of February 2022, but he has been running at a top level for quite a while now. And I just think this might be his type of race and the time to catch him. So Eldorado Allen at 25-1 is a good each way bet in my opinion. And another one further down the weights, but he bet with caution on this one is he's entered in three races, I think. Anion Invictus for Chris Gordon. I think Rex Dingle, he's jocked up, so hopefully that's a sign he's actually coming here. At the time of writing this, he was like 33. Now he struggled to get in, but now he's 20. So I must have max field, Adam.
24.
24. So he's guaranteed a run if they want to run him. So I just think he's comes here on the back of a winner out in Donny in January. He was sixth in the Bet 365 before that. The only worry with him is he needs good ground. I'm not sure. There's a lot of range on Sunday, so I hear, but who knows? I think he'll go well, despite the ground. I think he's a thorough stayer. So yeah, Annual Invictus and Eldorado Allen will be my two darts at this because let's be honest, Tuesday you got to have a couple of darts at the first handicap of the day, haven't you?
Yeah, I can let you have 2 darts, definitely. I'm going to have 2 darts at this. One selection that I will sort of throw a real dart at, it will be win only, and that's on Henry de Bromhead's Jungle Boogie. This horse is exceptionally talented. He won what can only be called the Album Photo Race at Tremor on New Year's Day, beat Classic Getaway. he's got legs made of biscuits, so he's only run about 4 times in the last 3 years. But I think the switch from Willie Mullins to Henry de Bromwich probably helped him. Nice comeback at Cork, won at Tremor. They've put him away since. Mark of 152. He could be a Gold Cup horse in the Ultima. He's 10 years old. He's far too fragile. They haven't been able to keep him sound for that kind of campaign. But I thought he was interesting that he's got the entry at this stage. But my main fancy is with Kim Bailey. Not the one you might think of. I'm not really sold on Chianti Classico. I don't think he's good enough. But I really like Trelawn. He's number 19, so he's going to get a run. Really improving 8-year-old. Now, he's run 3 times this season. He ran at Cheltenham back in December when he chased home Ginny's Destiny and Grey Dawning. Then he was beaten by Colonel Harry at Wetherby. And then last time in a 3-runner race at Exeter, he was 2 lengths behind Krabilly, who's really well fancied for the plate. But I think the key with this lad is I put the cheek pieces on last time. Now he's going up in trip to 3 miles. I'm really excited about him. He reminds me a lot of Happy Go Lucky, who went so close in this race for the same connections. Kim Bailey's had a couple of winners. Mark of 144. The great thing is, if Eldorado Allen and Jungle Boogie run, we're getting in here nowhere near the top weight, which is absolutely ideal. If he gets 11 stone 5, I'd be delighted. And I think at around 14 to 1, he's a fairly solid bet to start the week off. Second race we're going to look at on the Tuesday is the last race, the National Hunt Chase, 3 miles 6 as it is now. Used to be the old 4 miler. Bit of a match in the market with this between Corbett's Cross and Embassy Gardens, who are currently joint favourites and have been flip-flopping most of the week. Salvatore Ziggy's just behind them at 4s, and then it's 8 to 1 bar. Joe, how do you see this race?
Yeah, I was all season. I've been thinking Nick Rocket, Nick Rocket. He's the ideal candidate for a race like this, and then he was beaten by a rejuvenated American Mike last time out, and I think that prompted connections to, oh well, if you can't beat American Mike, then what's the point in going to Cheltenham? So they've taken Nick Rocket out. It's a race though that now he's out. I'm coming round to Corbett's Cross. He's not a horse that I've taken to all season, even last season. I was on Stay Away Faye when he beat Corbett's Cross. Obviously, Corbett's Cross ran out on the last, but I'm pretty sure Stay Away Faye had his number. But a race like this, going on this season on his chase form, he looks tailor made for this. I mean, he doesn't get near Stay Away Faye in the Browns and the rest of that field. So why not come here? He is this, what we call it. He's a plodder, isn't he? Would you say?
Yeah.
Or was that me being harsh?
No, I don't want to call a horse a plodder, but he is a bit of a plodder.
Yeah. I mean, he was a better Embassy Gardens has been all the rage for this, and he was a better hurdler than Embassy Gardens. And I just think he's going to be a better chaser as well. And 3 mile 6, his jumping hasn't been great, but going this bit further, it should allow him to. He gets more time at his fences. And I don't know who's going to be on him, but it's probably going to be an eye-catching jockey booking. So yeah, I think Corbett's Cross takes all the beating him. Or be probably a slow motion finish as always.
Okay, Corbett's Cross for Joe. Well, I'm going to go completely out of my comfort zone here, and I'm going to look at this race from the point of view that I don't think the Irish are any good. I'm not entirely sold by Corbett's Cross. Embassy Gardens has won 2 small field races. I'm not really sure on him. Salvatore Ziggy, I mean, we haven't seen him properly since the stole in September. I know he had a nightmare with the travel issue going to the US. So for me, I'm going to back a British trained horse in this, and I'm delighted to see that Kilbeg King is already jocked up. So it looks like they've made the decision. This is where we're coming. Will Biddick is booked to ride, which is probably the best British amateur option available in the absence of Mr. David Maxwell. So we'll go with Kilbeg King. I think he's shaped like a horse who's absolutely crying out for a national type stamina test. But he was a very good hurdler. Ran really well last year. Didn't actually come to the festival, but they took him to Punchestown in April. And he won a 25 runner handicap by 4.5 lengths as a hurdler. This season, 3 runs, 2 of which certainly were over inadequate trips. Got a bit better at Kempton when he chased home Ile Fronte and Hermes Allen. I think that's quite good form. Last time, he was half a length behind Henry's Friend. But if you watch that race, Sam Twiston Davis is giving it everything he possibly can. But the horse simply can't go any faster. He's staying on, and the line comes just two strides too close. But that on that evidence alone, this horse is going to absolutely love this 3 mile 6. I like Anthony Honeyball as a trainer. I quite like the fact they've just, this is the target. We're going to give it a go. I think at 9-1, I'm quite happy to back him each way because I just think he'll stay forever. Now, if it develops into a bit of a sprint and one of the Irish lads has got more class, fair enough. But I think there's not going to be a particularly big field in this race. And when you look at some of the others, I mean, you've got a couple of horses in here rated 130. I think over this trip, he'll reverse form with Henry's friend. Meeting of the Waters won't run. Suddenly, this race could cut up. He's probably the only horse I would suggest backing on Saturday night rather than waiting for the final decks because I do think 3 places, he's a very solid bet. So,
Yeah, and it's looking like it's going to be what 6 7 runners, isn't there?
well, we got 9 at this stage. And
Yeah,
Apple away, and there's got a few entries. Meeting of the Waters clearly is unlikely to run here. So
yeah,
maybe down to 7.
yeah,
I think the irony with Kilbeg King is I think his price will be exactly the same whether there are 7 runners or 8. So you may as well just take the 8 if you can and get the each way.
yeah.
So
True.
that finishes our Tuesday preview off, and we're going to jump forward to Thursday. This is a very difficult day's racing, but we've got a few races here to cover, and we're going to start with the Turners. This is where it gets complicated. Ginny's Destiny's 5-2, Grey Dawning's 11-4, Facile Vegas 7-2, Gaelic Warriors 4-1. With the exception of Ginny's Destiny, they've all got other options. Then you've got Iroko, Ilate Thompson is surely going to the Arkle, and then it's 20's Bar. Joe, Rich Ritchie said today they're leaning towards the Arkle with Gaelic Warrior. Do you give Gaelic Warrior a chance in either race, and how do you see the Turners?
I don't know. On Gator Warrior, I'm not a fan. I just think, how can you trust a horse with that many quirks? He's obviously very, very talented, but round Cheltenham, you must be mad. He's the type of horse he could hack up by 20 lengths, or he could just like end up in the Guinness Village. I mean, from a betting perspective, he's not one to trust at all, is he?
I I don't think so. If I was, I really like Gaelic Warrior. I think he's got bags of ability. One of the best French horses I've seen. But the problem is, I think he really needs right-handed. If I was ever going to back him at Cheltenham, it would be in the Turners. I'm not interested in the Arkle. He'd lose too much ground. There's too much speed. In this race, as Asterion Fallonge proved a couple of years ago, you can get away with it a bit more because on the new course, you don't lose as much ground because fewer of the fences are on bends. And as you come down the hill, the camber naturally brings you away from the inside rail. So it's not so much of a disaster. I was toying with the idea of backing him. If he was going for the Turners, I might have backed him because I just think he could lose a length at every fence and he's still better than most of these. But in the Arkle, I've got no interest at all because he'll give away 2 lengths on every fence that's on the turn. And at that speed, you just can't do it.
No. It looks a poor quality renewal, which is a bit harsh on Ginny's Destiny. I mean, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Ginny's Destiny, I absolutely love. 135 to 155 from in the rating from the start scene to now. I mean, that's some hike. Obviously, ratings don't really matter a handicap, but he arrives here winning 3 on the bounce, all at Cheltenham, which is a massive bonus, as we all know. He just keeps improving. His last run was probably his best yet. I mean, he jumps, he gallops. The only question is he a graded chaser? The answer is, does he need to be to win this race? I'm not sure he does. So I think he's the most consistent and reliable performer in the field. And at 10-3, 4-1, I think he's a cracking bet. So yeah, Ginny's Destiny for me.
Yep. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think if I'd said to you back in September, Joe, we're going to be doing a Cheltenham preview and the Turner's favourite will be Ginny's Destiny, you might have laughed, but that's where we are. And I think that your point there is absolutely spot on. Do they need to be a superstar to win this race? Probably not. Ginny's Destiny's done nothing wrong. 3 runs at Cheltenham, he's won them all. You can't really fault that. He's going to go out in front. I don't like Grey Dawning. I don't. If people think it's an advantage to jump to your left, and I don't think it is. I just want you to jump in a straight line. Jump in a straight line. You don't lose any ground that way. You haven't got to worry about where you are on the track. Jump in a straight line. It would just put me off. I don't really like, especially as if he's going to run in this race. There's a little bit more speed. He's got to keep up with Ginny's Destiny. I could see him making mistakes and getting caught out.
Where
Fast,
do you stand on Facile Vega, Adam?
I just think he's tripless. I just think he's
Yeah,
tripless. And if the point I would make is if Facile Vega was with any other yard, he'd be double the price.
yeah,
Just
definitely.
would. Because actually, if you look at his hurdles form, the races he won, the champion bumper, that form was races he just dominated because of his size and his scope and his ability to gallop. There is an engine there, but what's happened this season is he's just outpaced. It's not that he doesn't like Leopardstown; he just can't go the pace. If you watch that Irish Arkle back, he's there travelling with the rest of them, and if Founder 50 and Ilate Thompson can put lengths between them, I'm not interested. I don't think this is the right racing. I'd have run him in the 3 miler myself because I just think he's got to quicken from somewhere. Gaelic Warrior, if he ran here, I'd probably back him. But I'm almost forced just to take an absolute chance on Iroko. Wouldn't normally back a horse off a big layoff, but I just look at this race and think the Iroko that ran and won at Warwick is miles better than the rest of these. So I've got to really take it on trust that Oliver Greeno and Josh Guerrero know what they're doing and can get him fit at home. But if he turns up in the same form he ran out at Warwick, he's going to be there or thereabouts. I don't think this is a deep race. And what I was really struggling with is I was kind of liking the fact that Grey Dawning and Facile Vega, I'm against them and I'd want to find an each way angle. But the sad fact is there just isn't one. There's no horse at 20 to 1 who I think they're going to improve to take the step up. The way I'll play it on the day is I'll probably back Iroko and I might play Ginny's Destiny in the play spot because I like to get through leg one. And I think Ginny's Destiny will definitely be in the free. But it's, in all honesty, this is probably the worst novice chase that I have seen at Cheltenham. I can't remember looking at a grade one novice chase and thinking, blimey. And I'd imagine this race has thrown up Gold Cup winners in the past. What price would the first three in the betting for this be for next year's Gold Cup? Ginny's Destiny must be at least 50s.
Yeah, yeah, I
Great
agree.
Orleans the same. Facile Vega the same. I don't know. Not a great race. So we'll move off from that and we'll get on to a race that I think is a good race. And that's the Plate, which comes up at 4:10. 2.5 miles. Really interesting handicap. Krabilly is a very well backed 7-2 favourite at the time of recording. Theatre Man is 5s, and then it's 10s bar. Do you like the two at the head of the market, Joe, or are you going elsewhere?
I do. Obviously, it looks like I'm back into the favourite, but I think Billy, well found in the market. I think he's got a great chance. He might have given Ginny's Destiny a race back in November when falling two out. He was travelling. Obviously, Ginny's Destiny gallops and stays, but really was bang there. Fourth against that rival in December, but he never, when you go through battle for the race, he never travelled any confidence in his zip. So I don't know if that fall had just taken the edge of him slightly and it worried him a bit. Then he was given a bit of time off. Obviously, connections obviously thought you need a bit of time to recuperate and basically go back to the drawing board. And last time out winning Exeter, getting weight, he will have learned an awful lot for that. And John Joe would have learned an awful lot from that race. He finished with the wind in his sail. When you look back through the race, John Joe, you look in between the last two flights. I think he was fairly confident he was going to get there. He just seemed to right. Let's get picked up. We can pick these off, and you just felt John Joe, like I just said, then he would have learned an awful lot. And that win was on heavy ground. He's not a horse. I think he's ground dependent. So I think that victory there should leave him in a good place, and he goes there in a favourite chance. That's for sure. In what is, as always, very competitive race. But yeah, for Billy 7-2, would you want to take 7-2 in a handicap like this? Not normally, but to me, he holds with the basis.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm not sure I'd want to take 7-2, but he's by far the most likely winner for me. Um, I definitely prefer him over Theatre Man. I'm not so sold with what Theatre Man has done so far, and I think sometimes people look at just the bare numbers in a piece of form, and I think they're looking at Theatre Man and they're saying, He was 2 lengths behind Ginny's Destiny, and Ginny's Destiny is favoured for the Turners. Therefore, this horse must be well handicapped. I'm not sure he is that well handicapped because his other pieces of form at Newbury, he was beaten by Inch House and he was beaten by Brave Kingdom. Those two aren't Grade 1 horses. So I own the overall picture. I'd be kind of against him. The other one I really like is one for Gordon Elliott and Rob Core called Saint Felicien. He's got a few entries, but I think they're leaning this way. He's a lovely type. 2 from 4 over hurdles, 1 from 4 over fences. Taking a little bit of time to land some beginners' chases, but he was behind Fatal Vagrant in the pocket and Navan. Wasn't really able to get on terms. Then he was behind Indiana Dream, who's a really talented horse, although he's really fragile. He eventually managed to get the job done at Goran last month. He beat Ami Deji, who actually runs this weekend, so we're going to guide to that form, and he beat Spanish Harlem. But I like the way he saw out his race there. Marker 147. It's not ideal, but I think it perhaps underestimates that he might be a graded horse. So at around 12 to 1, if he definitely runs here, then I will be backing him. But it's one, I'm afraid he's got 4 entries, so you're going to kind of wait for the day and see where we go. So we go from a really good handicap chase to a really difficult handicap chase on the end of the card on the Thursday, which is the Kim Muir. We don't at this stage have any jockey bookings available. And bear in mind, this is an amateur riders race. You should always take that into account. Joe, give us your best angle on the Kim Muir.
Yeah, I was frantically going back through the race because I thought I'd found the winner. My mate, Good Time Johnny, but £10 height from the handicap we spoke about beforehand was obviously a bit too much for the yard, so he was taken out. So I went back to the drawing board, and it isn't always ideal, but we've all been caught. The Twiston Davis team. He is what I would call a proper boat. I mean, he was always going to be a chaser. When people always say whatever he does ever heard is a bonus. It's definitely one with him. He's a massive, big stamp of a horse. He was 7th in last year's Albert Bartlett, and obviously sent chasing this year. He was 3rd behind Flooring Porter and Broadway Boy. The chase debut in October. That was probably his best run of the season so far. I think he was only beaten like 3.5 lengths or something like that. And I expected him to kick on from that. Fortunately, he didn't. He was second to Broadway Boy in November. It wasn't just second, he was absolutely walloped by 17 lengths or something stupid. And then Mike O'Sullivan came over and rode him in December. Again, he was well beaten, but the report after the race said he reported never travelling and lost a shoe, so you can kind of excuse him that one run. So if we go back to his chase debut, if that We've All Been Caught turns up here, I think he's got a massive chance at a big price, and 134 rating might underestimate his ability slightly. So yeah, We've All Been Caught for the Twiston Davis yard for me.
We've all been caught for Joe. Well, I've got a strong opinion on this race, which you may well have seen on Twitter by the time this goes out, but I'm going to stick with it, and he's probably going to be my only bet, and that's the Ben Haslam trained A Wave of the Sea. Normally,
how many times do we joke about Ben Haslam yard and Cartmel and stuff, and then he rocks up with one at Cheltenham?
this is, and I will, this is the unusual thing that, but I also think this horse is 50 to 1 right now because he's with Ben Haslam. And people assume, rightly or wrongly, that JP only sends bad horses to Ben Haslam. But actually, Ben's job is to get these horses back if he can. But in this case, he's gone to Ben Haslam, and this was pointed out to me by Aidan O'Hara on another podcast, but maybe he went to Ben Haslam because they thought, we just want to get a few pounds off his back. And if he stays with Joseph O'Brien, the British handicap is not going to react. But within the last 12 months, A Wave of the Sea has finished 9th in a Grand National, 4th in a Galway Plate, and 4th in a Munster National. Now, that's particularly good form for a horse weighted 137. The issue is since he's gone to Ben Haslam, he's pulled up at Aintree. Now, I can forgive the Aintree run because the ground that day was horrendous. Whether the meeting should have been on or not, I'm not sure. Then he unseated at Doncaster on the 29th of December. Now, I've watched this race 3 or 4 times. It was won by Ern River. He unseated with quite a way to go, so you can't be certain. But he looked to be travelling to me. I thought he was going all right. On the back of that unseat, he's then gone to Musselburgh on trials day. He's run round Musselburgh on decent ground over 2.5 miles. He had no chance. What on earth was he doing there? Well, the answer is they just wanted to get a run into him. Anything will do, anywhere will do. Ben Haslam ran a couple in that race. He had Arthur's Key in there as well. But if you look at that race, Corrigine Rock won it. Thunder Rock was second. The Nicholls Horse Outlaw Peter was third. Tommy's Oscar was fourth. Petite Tonneray was fifth. Frero Bamboo was sixth. Now, admittedly, A Wave of the Sea was beaten 60 lengths. But I just think it was a case of let's just run him. Let's get him a race in somewhere. And generously enough, on the back of that, the handicapper said, you can have another £5 back. Now we're in on a mark of 137. We're going to get a nice riding weight back over a trip he suits. I just think he's going to run a massive race. This is a really talented horse running against some not so talented horses. And for that reason, I just think 50 to 1 on the day, you might get 5 or 6 places. Anything bigger than 20s, I'd be quite happy to have a good each way swing because I just think this is what he needs. So we're going to move finally onto the Friday. And when we were doing this podcast, we seem to have decided that the Friday is the day where we're just going to leave the most hardest races and come to them right at the end in the hope that one of us knows what we're talking about. So we're coming to the Friday and we're starting with the County Hurdle. Joe, any particular suggestion for the County Hurdle?
Well, I was pretty certain Iberico Lord was a shoo-in for this race. That plan went out the window when they decided to supplement him for the Champion Hurdle, which you can see why they've done it because, like Jamie said the other day, the prize money for second and third in the Champion Hurdle is far towards any handicap, from what I gather. I mean, what is it for second place in the Champion Hurdle now? 78 or something?
Yeah, and it's 56 to the winner of this. So there's your logic.
Well, there you go. So Iberico Lord was my idea of the winner again, but there's a horse in here, also Dominic Anderson, also owned by JP Manus, Under Control. Obviously, that might have played a part in it. JP thought, right, we can win this race with her. Let's send Iberico Lord to pick up some prize in the Champion Hurdle. She was meant to run at the weekend, wasn't she, at Calso?
Yeah.
I think. Did you read the reason she put up? Was it a vet?
The vet decided when she arrived at the course that she wasn't in a fit state to race. They think, as I understand it, that she got upset in the horse box on the way up. But there was no physical issue. It was more that she was sweating up and she seemed nervous and on edge and wasn't comfortable. So,
yeah, I mean, if she shows up in this 12 to 1, I mean, she's been back slightly since Iberico Lord pulled up. Her form ties in well with Iberico Lord. She beat him at the finale day at Sandown last day of the season. She beat him well, to be fair. She ran in that the Jerry Fielding at Newbury. I was all over that day, and 2 out, like Nico said, 2 out using a win, and she went stone last at the flick of your finger. Like, don't know what happened there, but it wasn't her. Give her some time off, and then she come back, and she was 2 lengths behind Ashrow Diamond at Doncaster. It was a good performance. It wasn't her at her best, but it was a step back in the right direction. Big field, hustle bustle. I can see it suiting her down to a T. I still stand by her. I think she's a very talented mare. If she can't win this off the mark she's at, there's something wrong. So Under Control, 138, she must go very close for me. Hopefully Nico gets the ride.
okay, Under Control for Joe. I mean, I look at this race from the point of view of, despite the fact we've now got to have 4 runs to get into this race instead of 3, there's still quite a few who could well be chucked in. King of Kingsfield is top of that list. He just looks like a grade 1 horse running in a handicap to me, but I don't really want to take the 6s about him. So I'm then starting to look at chance to think, right, what is there here that I would want a chance? The one I came down for is Westport Cove for Willie Mullins. This is his only entry at the festival. He's not in the Martin Pipe. He's not in the Coral Cup. So I think this has been the plan for some time. Won a maiden hurdle at Turles. What that form is worth is probably not a great deal, but it's been interesting what they've done with him since then. He pulled up in the Grade 1 over Christmas on heavy ground behind Caldwell Potter. Then he ran in the Munster Hurdle at Clonmel behind Keeda Bourbon. That race I just found fascinating because he was held up last on heavy ground in a slowly run race, and he finished like a train under Mikey O'Sullivan, beaten half a length. He had loads left at the end. They just didn't obviously want to put him into the race. On the back of that, he then goes to Punchestown behind Tully Hill when he got another gentle ride from Michael O'Sullivan, which is not is Mikey O'Sullivan's fault at all. He's obviously been told to drop this horse out and get him settled, which they've done. They haven't got near the Grade 1 horse. As a result of that, he's come in here on a mark of 139, having been put in one race of the 4 he's run over hurdles. I think he could be anything. I'd like the ground to dry out a little bit for him. All of his races so far have been on heavy ground, but I think he's got a decent bit of speed. So if it was sort of soft, good to soft, that might be in his favour. He's around 14 to 1. I'd probably want to chance him. This kind of bet, I would just go win only because I think there's probably 10 in here, including the Skelton horse, Loda Sud, who's probably still got a bit left in hand. And I don't really want to be betting each way when he could still run the best race of his life and finish ninth. So we'll take a chance on him at around 14s. So we go then, Joe, from unexposed and potentially class horses of the future in the county hurdle to the Fox Hunters, which, including the jockeys, are all pretty exposed. They've all been around the track a few times. At the moment, Ferns Lock is 5 to 2. It's on the line is 5 to 2. Premier Magic is 7s. Billaway is 7s. And then my old mate Sam Crow is 8s. It's 10s, but I'm sure, Joe, between the two of us, we've backed every horse in this race at some point in our punting careers. But how do you see
Yeah.
the Fox Hunters?
Well, I never thought. Imagine in the space of 7 days, you get Goshen winning over in a chase and Sancroft following up a week later, Adam. I mean, that's the heaven for you, isn't it?
Oh, the each way double will be on. Don't worry. I'm joking. I haven't placed that bet. Even I wouldn't do that. That's
I
too
don't
much.
think the bookies would take it. They'd be like, lock you up.
Oh, they take it all right. They wouldn't even put it on. He'd just put the money in his pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 100 chase is a brilliant race. Billaway, good value, 7 to 1. I mean, that last race, he comes second last time out. It fell apart, didn't it? He was ridiculous amount behind. He was 15 lengths behind when the horse in front. Ramy Lees was the first one. It looked like he was going to hack up. Then he fell off the cliff. Then who was it who beat him in the end?
So it's on the line, beat him ahead. But
That's it. It's on line, yeah.
probably coming to the last, it's on the line must be 10 lengths in front of him, at least,
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, I couldn't have Bill away for win purposes, but for each way, 7 to 1, it's not bad considering his history in the race. Ferns Lock, I think then he deserves. I'd like to see him go close, 3 to 1. They could have come here last year, but the trainers and connections said it's a year too early. We need to get more experience into. He's not ready for a big race like that. And I don't mind hearing that at all. It's not all about let's go chant him every year. If your horse isn't ready, your horse isn't ready. Let's not rush things. And for him to rock up here in the form he's in now, I think he stands a massive chance. He warmed up for it this year, emphatic victory at Thurles in January. I'm not sure what I was. It was like 40 lengths or something stupid. 3 to 1 could represent massive, massive value for him. It's on the line, his favourite. If I was pushed to have a bet in the race, it would be Ferns Lock. Going back down the field, obviously you got Basilay. I thought go last year. I'm not sure he handled the track. Ramy Lee's obviously a former Willie Mullins horse. He just, I'm not sure he truly stays the trip. And then it's any price you want for the horses below. Don't know what you think. There is some value in there if you can find it, but I'm struggling to find it. So I'll leave that to you, Ad. I'm going to stick with Ferns Lock.
Yeah, it's a really difficult race. I think the mistake people make with this race is they judge the horses on what they were. So at his peak, Sam Crow would pick this lot up and carry them, even over this trip. Sam Crow is a multiple Cheltenham Festival winning horse. But the problem is Sam Crow hasn't been a multiple Cheltenham winning horse for 4 years. And I watched back the replay of his latest run in a point-to-point at Bell Harbour. He got beat by Lifetime Ambition. No real shame in being beat by Lifetime Ambition. He's quite a good horse on his day. But to me, I just don't think he stays anymore, and I don't think he really wants it. I think Sam Crow went to the well too many times as a young horse, and now he's got the view of he'll win in point to points when he can boss the race and it suits him. This is a slog. This race is always an absolute war of attrition. That's why you get big price winners. I'm not entirely sold that Ferns Lock and It's on the Line will stay. I know they've won over 3, but there's a world of difference between winning at short prices in small fields in Ireland, and then you come here in a big field when you've really got to stay up the hill. To me, Premier Magic should be favourite. I don't really understand why a horse who's been here and done it and who's done nothing but win since isn't favourite. So he won here last year. No, sorry. Yeah, he won here last year. Then he came back for the Hunters Chase meeting. He won again. He's won his 2 points easily, like really easily. All right, he's been 1 to 10 and 1 to 4. So he's not exactly been beating anything of any note. But Bradley Gibbs sounded really confident when I heard him talk the other day. Course and distance form. I'd have him as favourite because I know he's done it. Do I want to get back in him? I might do. I don't know a great deal about Hunters Chase. He's not enough to really have an opinion strong enough to want anti-post anyway. I'd definitely be against the likes of Vosele. I thought he didn't stay. I don't think he really wants this trip. The Stratford meeting is probably the one for him. The other one I do like at a really sort of a decent price is the 10-year-old Time Leader. Now, he's got a little bit to prove. You know, he's only got an official rating of 128. So he's quite a long way behind some of those more progressive types. But since going Hunters Chasing, he's been a real revelation. And I liked the way he won at Hereford in January. That was over 2 mile 5. That was on good to soft ground. And he just looked to me like he was just travelling. He was perfectly comfortable. He had loads more in the tank if he needed it. Lots of people will look at that race and they'll think, but the reason he won that was because the 8 to 11 favourite under David Maxwell ran out. Now, Cat Tiger did run out. I'll give you that. But I think by the way they were going anyway, I could have picked Time Leader out with a circuit to go as the horse who was really travelling nicely. Made a couple of little jumping errors, but he was going so well. They shook him up and he pulled 7 lengths clear. The form is nothing special, but I just think he's really at home in Hunters Chases and the pace of the race. And I thought at 16 to 1, he's quite a decent each way bet for all that I think Premier Magic is the most likely winner. So we come from the Hunters Chase to what is effectively the Martin Pipe novice hurdle handicap. It isn't a novice hurdle, but everything in here that seems to be fancied is right at the top of the market and unexposed. Keeda Bourbon is 7 to 2, Sar Majest is 4s, No Ordinary Joe is 9s, 10s bar. Joe, which one of the horses, Joe, do you think has £25 in hand?
I haven't looked at this race properly, Adam. It just hurt in my head when I started looking. And it's just like No Ordinary Joe we mentioned the other day, the social media talking horse. Favourite Quail de Bourbon, 4 to 1. Would you want to take 4 to 1 in the Mountain Pipe? I'm not sure. Summer Jest, spoke about him as well the other day. Is he warranted 140? Who knows? Langadan. Well, we all know about Langadan, and if he wins, there's something seriously wrong, something he's looking at. Yeah, it's not a race, Adam. I want to get stuck in until the day, really, until I know the actual proper field. I don't know. What about you? Have you got any strong fancies?
I don't have any strong fancies. What I would say about the head of the market is in 2021, when Galopin de Champ won this, he was 8 to 1 on the day. 8 to 1. And he was running in that race on a hurdles mark of 142. Now, I'm not an expert on how the handicapper operates and how they get their figures together, but I don't think Keeda Bourbon should be half the price that Galopin de Champ was. I haven't seen anything in his wins at Clonmel and other places to suggest that. So I really want to try and take on the market. Sar Majest. At first, I thought Sar Majest would be a really handicap good thing. But the more I thought about it, and the more I heard other people think about it, he beat Noble Yates in a small runner race with a slow pace over 2 mile 4 when Noble Yates wasn't fully tuned up. That form is, people are assuming, Noble Yates came out and won the Cleve. I'm like, yeah, but he beat a load of veterans and he beat them half a length. You've got to look in literal terms and see what it is. So I'm not convinced he's thrown in. If Hispanic Moon ran here, she would interest me. I really like her. I think she's a lovely type. She beat Gala Marceau the other day. Everyone's looking at Gala Marceau and how poorly she ran, but Hispanic Moon won easily. The only doubt with her is she has got other entries, got a Coral Cup entry, she's got a Mayor's Hurdle entry, and I think she probably is best right-handed. 5 of her 6 wins have come right-handed. But the one that I would sort of have a small investment in, it'll have to probably be a waiting game to see exactly where they declare him. But I really like Built by Ballymore. Martin Braz was a really good trainer of a handicapper. I think this horse has been deliberately kept out of the spotlight to try and keep the mark into a reasonable amount. Martin Brazel's son can ride him if they run him in the Martin Pipe. He won at Limerick over Christmas. All right, the form's nothing special, but he won by 12 lengths, did it as easy as you like. Then he went to Punchestown at the end of January. Again, he won by 12 lengths. There's enough substance to that form to make me think this might be a graded horse. He's got in here on a mark of 139. It's not a given by any means. He's got another entry as well. But I just thought what I couldn't understand is he's 141. He's 14 to 1 on a mark of 139, having won his last two races by a combined 24 lengths. At the head of the market, Key de Bourbon is on a mark of 140. Right now, he's between 4 to 1 and 7 to 2. And he's run one race by 4.5 lengths and the other by half a length. They're just a real differential in the form. I thought Built by Ballymore might be a little bit unexposed and a bit under the radar. But again, it's the last race of the festival. I don't want to be forming a strong opinion. It's not really a race to be getting out on because everything in this field has got something in hand.
Just looking at Adam, do you not Ocastle Demos? He's not going to get in, is he?
I don't think he's going to get in. He hasn't got in. I really like him. I forgive the Newbury run. Other people will shoot you down because it didn't quite work. But I think he's a talented horse. I think the mark of 133, he's got no chance. 133 just doesn't get you into festival handicaps anymore. So they will have to go, I'd assume, Punchestown is or Aintree or Ayr or wherever they're going to go. Somewhere's going to come up. But yeah, it's a shame, but it is one of those things that also shows you that you should run your horses. If you want to run in Cheltenham handicaps, these races are so compressed these days. Most of these races are £10 handicaps. You've got to show everything to get into a lot of them. But the one thing with the
game's changed.
Yeah, it's a 0 to 145. You're going to get 20 odd horses in that bracket every year. So before we leave you, we said we were putting together a charity Lucky 15. Jamie Snowden really put his conkers on the line when he said Sir Gino would win the Triumph. Richard Hall's put up Galvin for the cross country. Joe, where are you going with your charity bet?
Well, I've changed my mind, I think, Adam, when the call off you spoke about him beforehand. We're going to go in the Grand Daniel, Samoa.
Sanoir in the Grand Annual for Joe. Okay, well, in that case, I will stick with my selection and we'll just be hoping that JP McManus has a really good week because I like Icare Allen and I think he's a class above than the Patemps. We will put that on and we'll share it on social media next week. I hope you've enjoyed watching this series. I hope you enjoyed Cheltenham and that we managed to find some winners for you.